The River Edge Land Use Board meeting. It's June 29th at 7:30 p.m. We're recording, is that correct? Mr. Cray, would you lead us in the flag salute, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board in Borough Hall, by email to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submissions to all persons entitled to the same as provided by law of the schedule including the date and time of this meeting. I'd like to remind all members of the public that we have 3 fire exits, one in the back, one here, and then one behind us over here. Hopefully we won't need them. And that for creating a record of this meeting, we're being recorded. Both the cameras are there and there. If anybody from the public wishes to speak, all they need to do is come up, state their name and address, and they can make their comments. We'll call people as the testimony is given. Roll call, please.
Chair Killian?
Yes.
Ms. Boland? Yes. Mr. Bartoloni is absent. Mr. Merman?
Here.
Mr. Grasso?
Here.
Mr. Cray?
Here.
Mr. Catlin is absent. Mayor Mignon has not yet arrived. And Mr. Gibbons?
Here. Sounds good. We have a quorum. First on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from May 1st. See, that was a lengthy meeting. I was not at that meeting.
So it's a good meeting not to be at.
Yes.
I have one minor correction, which I've already shown to the recording secretary.
Okay.
We did notice you were absent from the meeting. However, you got credit for being here on page 1.
My heart is always here.
Well, yes, it was definitely demonstrated in the meeting minutes. The first entry where it says, the first paragraph, and I'll quote the sentence, Chairman Eric Killian pauses for a remembrance for former mayor, he wasn't mayor though, Dan Daly, who was very active in the community. So your heart got credit while you weren't here.
All right, so
that needs
but I
to be
did that a
done.
while ago.
Yeah, we know that.
Okay.
We know that.
And Dan was a member of this board.
Board,
He
yes.
was not a former mayor.
Yeah. So that's the only
And a
comment.
very dear friend. Okay. So a motion to, anybody else on the minutes? A motion to approve as corrected? That'd be Mr. Craig. Second? Anybody? Here. Jump right up.
Second.
And,
Ms. Boland? Want to do a voice vote, or do you want me to call you?
no, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain?
I'm going to abstain, because I
Okay.
recuse myself
And
from one of these.
obviously I have to abstain as well for that one. Okay, before we get started, I just have a little housekeeping to attend to. As you'll notice, one of our seats is empty there. Mr. Sedaris, who was served on the board for about a year, Mayor, has moved out of town, and hence he will be missed, and his input will be deeply missed as well. He was a very active member of the board, and we're very appreciative to have him.
This is your last meeting?
No. Oh, here?
I don't know.
Okay, so I'm going to bring it up, and then you could say what you want. It's also with very deep regret that my good friend and our mayor is moving out of town. As so that seat will also be empty, and that seat is going to be very, very difficult to fill. Obviously, as an engineer, I have to tell the people that are on the board he's been extremely knowledgeable, very grounding at times for us, which is great. And as a personal friend, I'm going to miss him dearly.
Thank you.
You want to say anything to the rest of the board?
No, it's an honor and privilege to be on this board. This is my first foray into local government. former Mayor Watkins had appointed me to this board in 2008, I believe. And I've enjoyed every minute being up here. It's, like you said, I'm an engineer by background. I always enjoyed being on the planning board, and I was glad that we were able to do the things we've done over the past 10 years.
One of the things that always stuck in my mind, he said, there was one job he would like better than being mayor and being the chairman. And I kept saying, I'll switch with you, and now it's too late. But we are going to miss you dearly, and we wish you all the best in your new endeavor and your new employment out there.
Thank
Okay. Anybody wish to chime in real quick? Anybody?
I will join.
Of course, you should.
Yeah. I've known Ed, I have known each other both government-wise and professionally, and I consider him a true friend, okay? And we've had some very good times together, and I also appreciated his service on the board while I was involved with the board, and without being too verbose, I wish you and your family the best.
you very much.
Ryan?
I'd like to wish you the best as well. It's been a pleasure working on this board with you, and thank you for your many years of service to town, and certainly will be missed, but wish you all the best to where you're going.
Thank you.
Ed, we're going to miss you as well, and appreciate your work on the board, and you being an engineer, you had insight on many things that no one else had.
Ms. Bowen?
Yes, it was very comforting having you on board with your knowledge, and appreciate all your leadership.
And coming from a fellow engineer, that is Mr. Craig?
You're the one who got me here. I'm not sure to blame you or thank you for that. But, we're going to miss you. We're going to miss Edward. Our kids went to school together. It's the same.
Thank you.
It was the mayor's insight that brought Tom to the board, and now I'm very proud that he is our borough zoning officer as well, works for the borough. Tom, would you like to say anything?
It's been an honor and privilege working with you on a number of planning issues in River Edge, and learning from your insights and professional experience, and just watching you as a leader and trying to take in as much as I can. So thank you very much for serving as a role model.
Mr. Costa, I know you and Mr. Mignon go back
Way back.
pretty far back.
And Mayor, again, I got the email today, and obviously I knew prior to that, but I wish Val and I and my family wish you the absolute best in Utah. This community is going to miss you. You've done a great job, and I'm going to miss you personally.
Thank you.
Best of luck, and I think no matter what side of the aisle you're on, I think everybody in this town is for River Edge, and I commend you for that.
Thanks.
So have a great time out there. Pick up skiing. I'm not sure what else you can do.
Maybe watch
it to Utah, but it's supposed to be absolutely gorgeous, and on the next chapter of your life and your family's life, the best.
Eileen, your firm is also here because Mr. Mignon recommended you.
Yes, and I remember meeting with the mayor and Brian when we were being considered for this position here, and it's been an absolute pleasure, Mayor, serving with you, getting to know you, and also in conjunction with the work that you've done in Fort Lee as well. So I just have to say that I admire you, and I wish you the best of luck, you and your family.
Thank you very much.
Very nice.
Mayor, when does the photo go up now?
I need to talk to my counsel. They can't wait to get me out the door.
Okay, moving right along.
Rob, I told him I don't want to be on that back wall, because
Yeah,
I want to see me.
well, I'm looking at the back, your space. I guess you got to be black and white photos to be on that side, on the south side. But,
We have a resolution for Robert and Michelle Como, 149 Concord Drive, River Edge, Block 611, Lot 3. They received a variance for a covered front porch on 5/15. I was at that meeting. Any corrections or anything look good on the resolution?
I have no
Pretty
comments,
simple, yeah.
Mr. Chairman. If you'll entertain a motion, I'll be glad to make it.
Anybody have anything? Okay, yes, I will.
I'll make a motion that the board accept the resolution as written.
Do I have a second?
Second?
Roll call, please.
That was Mr. Evans. Mayor Mignon was absent from that meeting. Mr. Capleo is not here this evening. Chair Killian,
Yes.
Ms. Boland was absent. Mr. Grasso,
Yes.
Mr. Bartoloni is absent. Mr. Cray,
Yes.
Mr. Merman,
Yes.
Mr. Caslin is absent. And Mr. Gibbons.
Yes.
Congratulations if you're watching. Next up is Mr. Michael DeRosa, 264 Berkeley Road, Lot 902, Block 902, Lot 27. It's for a two-story addition, and they're looking for impervious coverage. Good evening. All right, so this part right now is all we're going to do is deem that your application is complete. So, no. Have a seat, relax. We're going to keep you there. So I'm going to go to our zoning officer first. Thomas?
The applicant's here for, as you said, improved lot coverage variance. The information submitted that I've received is sufficient to carry the application forward.
Ms. Nabby?
Yes, I've received the notices that were published and served by the applicant. You did a nice job, and in my opinion, is good for this jurisdiction.
Okay, I'll enter, any questions? I'll entertain a motion to move forward and accept this application as complete.
So moved.
Mayor?
Second?
You want to do a voice vote, or do we want to call each board member individually?
Individual.
Individual,
Mhm.
okay. Let's see, Mr. Capleo is absent.
Excused.
Excused. Let me just mark him as excused. Okay. Chair, Eric Killian?
Yes.
Ms. Boland?
Yes.
Mr. Merman?
Yes.
Mr. Grasso?
Yes.
Mr. Cray?
Yes.
Mayor Mignon?
Yes.
And Mr. Gibbons?
Yes.
Okay. See, you didn't have to go anywhere. For new business, again, it's Michael DeRosa, 264 Berkeley Road, Block 902, Lot 27. This is for an addition. Welcome, folks.
Thank you.
Okay, the way I like to start out is have you explain to the board exactly what you're trying to accomplish tonight.
So this is my wife Kathleen as well. We own the house.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi. In joint custody.
Okay, so we moved to 264 about 5 years ago. One of the reasons we moved into this community is I'm in education. I work in neighboring districts in Franklin Lakes. And education is the utmost importance to me, so this community has always been attractive to me. We looked for a home for, I don't know, I think about 1.5 years, 2 years. It seemed that everyone wanted the house that we wanted. And finally we got our home, and we were blessed to have 2 girls. We have a daughter that just turned 2 and one that is 7 months. And we'd love for River Edge, and specifically 264, to be our forever home. But we're growing out of it, and we just need it to be a little bit more space for us to grow as a family and really establish roots in this community.
We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom?
Well, to give a rundown of the project, it's a developed site with a 2-family home, as you've seen on the plans. It does have a driveway, paved driveway, and also in the rear there is a pool and patio area, which seems to be cause for the improved lot coverage over what's permitted, over the 35%. So the applicant's proposing an additional 7% for 547 square feet. So they'd be going from an improved lot coverage of 43.9% to 50.9%, where a maximum of 35% is permitted. So the test in weighing the variance relief, whether or not to grant it, would fall under the C2 or public benefits test criteria, for which the board has to weigh essentially whether there are any public benefits versus any detriments or impacts that would be caused by the exacerbation of the improved lot coverage. So a potential benefit, and this as well as the applicant, do you feel that your home addition is...
I'm just going to just stop you 1 second.
Sure.
Can you swear them in, please?
Please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Mr. Rose, I know you have already testified the testimony that you provided to this board has been accurate, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, sorry, Tom.
Not at all. So one of my first questions related to whether or not there are any public benefits being achieved by this. I know there are a number of newer homes on the block, so would you say that this addition brings your home into greater consistency with the character of the block or the other homes on the block? How do you guys fit in?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
That's not the reason why we're doing it, but that is surely a definite side effect.
It's not out of scale. You won't have the smallest or the largest.
No.
It won't, no.
No.
It won't be the largest by any means, and it won't be the smallest, but it'll be still fairly small in comparison to the other houses around us.
It is noteworthy that the project is conforming in all other respects with regard to building coverage and setbacks. Sometimes, and I don't know, do you guys have any on-site drainage at this point in terms of...
We do not have any seepage tanks at this point.
So, in an application like this where the impervious coverage is being increased to an amount, the board can have some discretion in terms of asking for some level of impervious coverage if that's something the applicant would be willing to comply with. And that can also be interpreted as a public benefit in terms of maintaining on-site rainwater and mitigating runoff. So essentially, again, the increase in impervious coverage is 7% or 547 square feet. The pool itself is about 531 square feet. So it's a question of, again, does the project fit in? Are there any measures that can be utilized to mitigate the impacts? Are there any other areas for wiggle room, for lack of a better term? I'll also note that with regard to the driveway expansion, there is no garage here. So all the parking is surface parking.
Okay. As far as we'll go to our engineer real quick. You'll take jurisdiction as far as...
Well, again, if it's approved by the board, once the applicant goes for a building permit, they also have to go for a soil moving permit. So we've been treating the drainage. Most of the people in the town hate me because of that, but once they come in for the soils, if they increase the impervious coverage, we cover it on the soil moving. So the board doesn't have to make that decision. If you want to put it in the resolution, it's fine, but for them to get a building permit and soil moving permit, they would have to comply with that anyway.
I actually spoke to you, Rob, probably about a year ago. This has been ongoing for about a year, and we talked about potential need for seepage tanks and potentially putting them, underneath our driveway because they're expanding anyway. So we would be willing to comply if that's going to be a requirement.
Tom, you're good?
That pretty much sums it up. So again, it's a balancing test between those public benefits I mentioned versus any detriments or impacts based on not what's there today, but on that increase of 7% or 500 square feet.
Mayor?
Just want to clarify, the pool's existing?
Correct.
So the only increase in the impervious coverage is coming from the addition to the house and the expansion of the driveway. Everything else is pre-existing.
That's correct.
Okay, just want that clarified.
Built-in seepage pipes. Ryan?
I know the block, and I know there's a lot of large houses on the block. I'm just a little concerned with us going over 50% in terms of the lot coverage. And did you look into any other options of? Looks like a very large bedroom and a very large, and I get, you want to add a bedroom to the house. It just looks like a very large addition to what we're adding to put us over 50%. Have you looked at other options of keeping this space under 50%?
We have. One major part of this renovation, and selfishly, something very important for me is right now I don't have a closet for my clothes. So my clothes are in my daughter's closet, and just functionally, I mean, as parents, you probably know that doesn't work out so well. So that we had worked out a few different, because the last thing that we really wanted to do was to have to come here and ask permission to do something. But we really couldn't find what we wanted without coming to you. The other thing was the driveway. Right now, both of our cars can't be in the driveway, and our girls can't play in the driveway. So that was another thing that we really wanted to ask, was to, expand the driveway.
Right. Yeah, no, I understand the driveway part. It just seems like we're going over 50 for a very large bedroom/family room. So just looking to see if there was any concessions that could be made to make that smaller and keep us under 50%.
I mean, we were actually originally, we're looking to go even larger, but we brought it down to, to meet the side yard requirements. But no, specifically, we didn't try to get under 50%, so to speak. We were looking to, expand to meet our requirements, get the, like you said, get
The closet.
Get the closet,
Right.
and, the family room I wouldn't actually consider very large. I would consider, average, if we get approval to move forward. But no, we didn't specifically look to get under 50%.
That's it for now.
Mr. Merman?
No comment.
Mayor?
No.
Ms. Bowen? Mr. Craig?
Yeah, I just have one question. The expansion of your driveway is, probably 40% of your increase in coverage. And it's deeper and wider. Again, kind of mirroring Mr. Gibbons' comments, any potential for that to be, shaved down a little bit, again, for the same reason, just to try to keep the growth in impervious coverage above code to a minimum. I mean, I know you're looking to get 2 cars in there. I'm assuming it's 20-foot wide. Are you looking at there's going to be side by side, or there's going to be stacked?
Side by side was the idea.
And I think too, like, given the weather conditions sometimes, like, I'm bringing 2 kids, I'm sure that you guys can relate, 2 kids in and out of car seats in the snow, and it's just, the wider for us seems better.
So at that point, then, do you need the extra depth? Because you're taking it, from right now, it kind of winds up with the beginning of your front steps, and on the new one, you're taking it all the way to almost to the line of the house. Is that extra depth necessary?
I can tell you right now, the way the driveway is set up, the singular driveway is set up right now, we don't have enough room to stack 2 cars. We're actually in the sidewalk.
No, I understand.
So,
Well, I'm saying is if you're going side by side, though,
Right.
Now you're taking it from what's probably, and it's not dimensioned here, but I'm guessing it's about, probably closer to 30 feet or something like that. So you're in another 6 foot of depth.
Right,
Do
right.
you need that?
that could be an option. We'd have to think it through, but
Tom, what's code for a 2-car driveway width-wise?
I think it's a maximum of 22 feet, the width wise.
And they're asking for 30, is that correct?
No, we're going 36D. 21.
Oh.
We're going 20.
21.
So
So
we're
there's no length requirement, but there is a width.
on the width, so what's the width
But
requirement?
they're at 20, they're actually under the maximum.
They're
of
under the,
22.
okay.
Well,
I think I would understand their position, but the fact is almost half your impervious coverage is already due to the pool. That's in there.
right.
I mean, if, I don't know what the consensus of the board is, but I guess they're looking for you to shave off like 40 square feet. Is there anything to do on the patio where you can take away 40 square feet to be a net zero? I don't know, but otherwise, I'm not necessarily bothered by it. I think let's put the drainage in. And if this had been presented to us with the pool, I think I'd be of the same mindset that we would probably try to bring that down a little bit.
And we would have never put a pool that large in. I mean, it's great that we have a pool, but it is very large for our house.
Not an uncommon problem in River Edge, by the way.
Really?
Just one note on the driveway, I don't know that with the depth or the width being very small at the curb, you might even need more depth to be able to pull both cars in.
Right. That's
Right, because you have to,
Because you have to actually pull up a bit more,
That's right, you're not
because you probably
introducing
can't park two right at the curb.
Right.
Right.
Or
Is the curb cut gonna be the same width as the driveway?
Yeah, no, the curb cut's gonna be, we're not expanding the curb cut.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a single wide,
Right,
whatever, 10 feet or something?
right.
I think if you tried to shorten it, I think it might look a little odd.
And that's what I was thinking as well.
Mhm, Right.
I don't think they'd be able to actually.
So we
pull
can't
both
shorten
cars
it,
around
we
each other.
can't unwiden it, so I don't think there's not a lot of choices there.
In River Edge, if we put pavers in, is that still considered impervious coverage?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
They have pervious, but I don't really think they're very pervious.
It's gonna be possible to get, to park cars side by side if it's only a 10-foot wide apron?
Yeah, the way it's designed,
I think our neighbors have it.
our neighbors have, several of our neighbors have curb
I guess
cuts.
if the driveway's long enough, you'll be able to pull it in.
If the driveway is long enough, that's what I was concerned about too, and I was gonna talk to the
Depending on the
architect
length of your car.
about that, it wouldn't be able to fit in.
Depending on how big a car you have.
Right.
And we had
My
a
Civic.
Professionals have anything else to say?
car.
I mean, in this particular situation, if it was just a house and driveway, it would be in keeping with the neighborhood. The issue here is that we're dealing with an existing pool and patio that are of such a size, but still they are over by whatever amount, so it's again, is there anything that can mitigate that, or is there any give and take anywhere? And that's sort of what's...
And it doesn't, from what I'm hearing, it doesn't sound like there is.
Well, it sounds like they're amenable to at least the seepage pit in the
Well, the pits,
water.
yeah, I mean, Rob's gonna, whatever Rob requires is gonna be included in the memorialization. The mayor makes a great point, with the pool, if the pool wasn't there, none of this would be an issue. So,
I also think you're significantly under their lot coverage, so they could have had a bigger building footprint
That's right,
and still comply
that's right,
if it wasn't impervious.
that's right.
entertain a motion to open the public,
So me,
second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? We are now open to the public for this application. Is there anybody that wishes to come forward and speak? You're all hearing them. I'll entertain a motion to close to the public.
So moved.
Second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstain? Okay, at this point, unless anybody else has anything to say, I'll entertain a motion on this application.
You're looking at me, okay. I'll make a motion that the board approve the application as presented, with the provision that underground seepage pit or just runoff disposal be installed in accordance with the borough engineer's review and specifications.
I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
That was seconded by Mayor Mignon?
Yep.
Okay. Chair Killian?
Yes.
Ms. Boland?
Yes.
Mr. Poloni is absent. Mr. Merman?
Yes.
Mr. Grasso?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Pavlin is absent. Mayor Mignon?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons?
Yes.
Congratulations, folks.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So let's give you this time, so I don't need to vote on it.
I already signed this one.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
I took a vote on this one.
Okay. Okay. Counselor? Next one up is a continuation of hearing from last month. Bergen County Historical Society, 1201-1209 Main Street, River Edge, New Jersey, with blocks 1304 Lot 2 and block 1303 Lot 2. This is carried from 5-1. It's the construction of a museum and library located on a 6.7-acre lot, and there are variances required, which were gone over the last meeting. I just want to put into the record that I did watch the complete film, so I am certified to hear this going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening, Tom.
At this time, we'll wait Mr. Glywood's,
Hello, please raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Kenneth R. Grisewood. I was witness at the first hearing. Grisewood.
Thank you.
I'm just going to briefly review, go over what we updated the plans with and amended the plans. We have a revised exhibit that I would like to introduce, similar to the previous hearing.
Okay. So do you want to click on it, or-
We can say three.
I agree with you, A3.
All right, the exhibit is entitled Clayton County Historical Society, Block 1304, Lot 2, Block 1303, Lot 2, 7.69 acres. It's a site plan exhibit dated June 19th, 2019, prepared by Menlo Engineering Associates. Similar to A2, it is the rendered version of the site plan, which is part of the application package, overlaid on top of a beautiful aerial image. North is to the top of the exhibit, Hackensack Avenue and Newbridge Road to the left side, or the west, and then the Hackensack River would be to the right side. So basically, the plans have been modified based on the comments that we received on the first hearing and Mr. Behrens and Mr. Costa's review memos and their input. We updated the plans with 9 specific items. The first is the introduction of the proposed crosswalk and stop bar at the northeast corner of Block 1305, Lot 1, which is the off-site parking facility. It's the lot that's on the interior side of the Judgment. It actually lies southwest of the property. So the new crosswalk would extend from the northeast corner of this lot north across Main Street. There'll be a stop bar and a stop sign on the jump handle leg or the south leg. Subject to the county's route review and approval. That is a plan with that notation because we feel that their input is important. The second point, or portion of that, would be the introduction of new ADA ramps, which are required as part of the crosswalk. This is subject to us getting some additional survey information and sure that we can technically engineer them. And again, that would be subject to the Bergen County Engineering Department review and approval. The third component is the extension of a stone dust trail walkway from the north side of the Main Street northward to the existing trail that runs parallel to Main Street, so there'll be interconnection between the crosswalk and the trail system that runs along Main Street. The fourth item is a notation that was added to Block 1305, Lot 1, indicating that the striping, as it exists today, would be restriped, so that there would be clear delineation of the parking spaces. The fifth item is at the head of the ADA parking and service driveway entrance. We added a band of pavers to accommodate an ADA compliant surface as it crosses, this pathway crosses the service drive. Originally that was a gravel in that area, and now we've changed it to a paver so that it stays ADA compliant. The
sixth item was modifying the landscape plan in accordance with Mr. Barron's request to have the plant materials all North American native species. The seventh item was modifying the lighting plan and incorporating the existing street light that is located just west of the proposed driveway, and including its light contribution to the lighting plan. The eighth item was the addition of the truck movement plan, which is at the last sheet of the drawing set, indicating the movement of a service vehicle in and out of the facility. And then the last thing is a notation that was added to the site plan indicating that the paver selection would be based on its historic appropriateness in conjunction with the Historical Society. So those were the major changes to the plan since the last hearing.
Thank you. And those changes were made, as Mr. President points out, in conjunction with the initial review letters, and this plan has been subsequently reviewed by Mr. Costa and his staff. And the sent a letter yesterday indicating the items that were already addressed. There are still a number of items that need to be addressed, but they're more appropriate to take place during construction, or prior to construction, actually. For instance, the sanitary sewer must be TV inspected. Obviously, we'll do that. And then there were a few other items with respect to the sewer. In that regard, I can report to the board that I had a conversation today with Mr. Bazralian, who is the attorney for the Hakimians, who own the Steuben Arms apartments, and he has gotten some comments from his client as to the draft that I have sent, so he's going to be getting their letter. So we're working on that, and we would ask the board, if they see fit, to issue an approval, that of course it would be conditioned upon the actual easement agreement and its review and approval by both Mr. Costa, Ms. Natty, and anyone else who needs to pass muster on it.
I had a conversation with Mr. Barrett, I believe it was today, Tom?
Yes.
Or yesterday, or last week, whenever it was, but that's consistent with what we discussed. It's my understanding that that easement agreement has not yet been secured. I did reach out to Mr. Costa today as well. If the board is inclined to grant this application or vote on it this evening, that would be a condition of approval.
That's regarding the sewer?
Sanitary sewer, yeah.
The tie-in.
Okay.
The permission for tie-in.
No, we have the permission. We just have to work out the actual language of the easement.
The easement, correct. In reviewing the tapes, there were two other issues that had come up that I'm just bringing up now. This way we can get a quick answer. As far as the parking for the handicap, is that still in place the way it was, or has there been some changes made, or?
No, that remains in place, and perhaps Mr. President can just address that issue. We reviewed the requirements for the ADA spaces and discussed it among other professionals, and the location that we're proposing on site represents the safest location for the ADA spaces. In conjunction, I also found a document produced by the United States Access Board, which is an independent federal agency that promotes equality for people with disabilities. And in its scoping requirements, which is Chapter 2, has an advisory document 202.5, in which it indicates public entities have an additional obligation to achieve program accessibility under the Department of Justice ADA regulations, see 28 CF 35.150. These regulations require public entities that operate historic preservation programs to give priority to the methods that provide physical access to the individuals with disabilities. So with that, we determined that the ADA, providing the ADA spaces on site, represents the most appropriate location for the spaces. All
right, and the last question I had before I go to my professionals, is the parking lot itself. I know you were working with the state of New Jersey to try to define.
I think one who would better address that question would be Mr. Smith, who is the president of the State Park Commission as well as the president of the Bergen County Historical Society.
You want to go to that now, board, and get this out of the way, or do you want to wait and we'll have testimony on that? Do you have somebody else that's going to have testimony on this, or no?
Yeah, Mr. Smith.
All right, then bring him up. We'll get it over with once.
What was that? I have all kinds of site plan questions.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
keep
how
them
you
up.
want to get rid of this?
Yeah.
All right.
Good evening, sir.
Nobody's leaving.
Mr. Smith, will you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you just please state your name again?
Sure.
for the record?
James Smith. I'm the president of Bergen County Historical Society as well as chairman of the Historic and Ridge Landing Park Commission.
Thank you.
So just to clarify, and I think there was like some questions at the last meeting that hopefully this does clarify that. The Historic and Ridge Landing Park Commission was established in 1995 by New Jersey State Law NJSA 13-15B-1-5 to tie together the different stakeholders at New Ridge Landing, meaning the Bergen County Historical Society, the Blauvelt Emrys Foundation, the Borough of River Edge, the Borough of New Milford, Teaneck Township, the County of Bergen, and the NJDEP, to act in good faith for the purpose of coordinating and implementing all federal, state, county, municipal, and private development policies and other activities related to historic preservation and recreational use of the property under the Commission's jurisdiction. The parking lot listed here is under the Commission's jurisdiction and therefore is used for all of the events, and that was its original intended purpose, to provide parking for that very usage. And just giving you an example of how the Commission works, the Commission is now funded by the state of New Jersey. We're now entering our year 3 to receive funding. So this is it's very exciting that the funding has begun. And in our May 3rd meeting, we actually brought up the issue of striping to the Commission meeting, and it's now put out to bid to restripe the parking lot at that May meeting. So it was able to be approved, and now the DEP is working on bidding for that process. So again, the Commission is meant to oversee and coordinate all the events that occur at New Ridge Landing. And obviously the main organization that is having the events at Historic and Ridge Landing is the Bergen County Historical Society.
So in layman's terms, would you say that the use of that parking lot, if this project is approved, is in perpetuity?
Correct.
So that's your testimony?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, so those were the questions I had from watching my 2 hours yesterday.
When the board heard this matter initially on May 1st, 2019, had an exchange with Mr. Barrett, and one of the conditions is that if for some reason the parking is lost, it will automatically trigger a return to this board. Councilman and I explored the idea of having a written agreement, and without getting into the merits of it, I believe you indicated there is no formal written agreement. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have the letter that I submitted to the board dated March 13th from the Commission, and just confirmed use of the spaces by resolution. So the Commission adopted a resolution confirming that, yes, the Historical Society has the use of the parking spaces.
And how many spaces are those again?
They confirmed the use of 31, which is what we need, but there's a total of 63 spaces there.
31 parking spaces for use by the commission.
Correct. But in reality, they'll all be used because they'll coordinate any events that take place so that there's only one event. So that's who would be using the lot.
Why don't we keep the chairman up and have you come back up here, because I know that
I
there are
still-
some questions. Just let's get to the professional first, and then I'll get to you, Mr. Murphy.
Okay.
Mr. Tom, we'll start.
The parking question that you raised is probably the biggest issue to address. I did have one other note about signage. I think we were supposed to maybe get some details.
Yes, the architect will go over that with you.
Okay, so,
Yeah, that was the other thing I wanted to mention. On signage, it's a comprehensive review. You should have drawings and so forth on the signs.
There's only one sign.
Only one sign. There's going to be
The
no...
architect has it on the.
Okay. And there was one other thing that was brought up at the meeting about a food license. Now, I know that they said that they weren't going to be serving food, just so it's on the record. I did hear somebody, I don't know who it was, whose testimony, that they said they had a food license. The Borough of River Edge requires that any applicant that's going to come in and serve food on premise come before the board for a comprehensive food license. And then they also, of course, have to go to the Borough Health Department for that license. It's two separate licenses. So if you decide to serve food in the future, you'll have to come back, unless you want to incorporate that into your application.
Well, we would at this point, because there are events where, was it catered, or when you do have food? I think there was testimony that there was food on.
Yes.
The events that we
Mr.
have.
Smith, you said
Right.
you had a food license.
That's correct.
So,
Yeah, but he probably thought that he had a food license to serve food from the county or something, but you would need a separate
We have
approval from us.
We're told that like if you were selling like cupcakes, say at a town event, that you would need to have a license to be able to do that through the Board of Health, right? So it was the same thing that we.
And I don't know if cupcakes really qualify.
Technically, they do.
So if you want to amend your application
Then we would,
to include a food license, but I picked that up on the recording, and I meant to bring that
But
up.
the museum itself is not going to have,
No, there's not going to be any food made on premise at
it's
all.
for pre-existing, like you do in the,
So if you decide to incorporate a kitchen later on, you will need to come back for a food license.
We're not going to.
Right, you just have it catered, right? I mean, catering comes in with the food, if there's any food at all.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I don't believe that, yeah, only if you're going to sell food on premises. Okay. And you're not going to have a monument sign out front, or? I'm just,
Maybe, Historic Newbridge Landing Park Commission does have a master plan that does call for a battle monument at Newbridge. There's over 11 military engagements that occur here in River Edge. There's no monument for that, and eventually in our master plan, we do call for that in the future on the state.
so, and I guess because of there's so many entities involved down there, as the mayor and I discussed, if it's a entity within the county, that's controlled by the county, you don't need approval, but you still need to come before us.
Right.
And if it's you guys, because you're a 501(c), you do need to come before us for that, so
Right,
you'll
so
have to,
if it's the commission,
that's
yeah,
correct.
they will
Then
come.
they still have to come and
Right.
just have us get a look at it.
correct,
If it's the society,
different story.
then you need to get
Formal
approval.
application.
Mhm. So it's just something that you want to be mindful of.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Tom.
that was all I had. The applicants covered most of my concerns.
Mr. Costa, I know you have a few things as far as the crosswork.
I guess we're going to hear testimony on the site, I would imagine. I mean, we heard what the changes were, but I guess we got to see how the changes work.
There's no physical changes to the plan other than the notations that we outlined.
Well, no, I think you can explain to the board on the testimony, you added a sheet with the truck turning template. You can explain to the public and the board how that works. You can go over, I know the chairman said he listened to the tape, how the ADA parking works on site. So how a person gets out of the car, how they physically get into the new building. As far as the commission, congratulations, you're the president of both positions. Mr. Smith, how does that work? So if you leave the parking spaces under one commission, you then get on the dais on the opposite commission and say, give the spaces, is that, or maybe I'm missing something. Because I thought there was a letter, and then I think it was brought up at the last meeting, well, what happens if the letter disappears? And I thought you said, well, if it does, then we would have to come back here. But now you testified that it's in perpetuity. But there is no new letter. Is there a resolution? Is there, under the authority of the statute you cited, it gives you that authority to bind the state in perpetuity?
That's the whole purpose of the commission, that's what Mr. Smith said, is to coordinate the use of all of those parcels down there. And
Maybe you're missing. What little bit and again, I'm not an attorney, I've just been around you guys for so many years. In order to, I believe, bind, and again, maybe it's different, property that's owned by the state of New Jersey, wouldn't it have to go to the State House Commission for the ultimate order, or you wouldn't be subject to any of that?
No, the statute gives the commission the authority.
To bind the land?
To use, to use.
Not use. Bind it in perpetuity?
That's the authority that, so the state would have to pass a new statute eliminating the commission.
That's not what I asked.
Right, but that's what would have to happen.
Okay, so what you're telling us is that you have the authority.
The commission.
I guess there was a meeting, there was a resolution, you have the authority to bind that property in perpetuity. That's what you said.
I was asked, for the proposal to have, the 31 spaces would be made available. So that was not an issue with the resolution. I was merely trying to clarify the role of Historic and Ridge Landing Park Commission. The Bergen County Historical Society first got involved here in River Edge in the 1920s. Well, no, you spoke to it, but the comment you made, I sang like, one hand washing the other type of deal with me being the president and the chairman. I'm volunteering for all this. I'm not getting a salary. I have a family.
I don't think he's questioning that. I think he's questioning.
All I'm questioning is
what is the mechanism that this parking becomes part of the society's approval in perpetuity? Your answer to me was, it is. So, Mr. Costa just asking, what mechanism made that? Is it just,
it was purchased for the usage of Historic New Bridge Landing Park Commission, for Historic New Bridge Landing, which the Bergen County Historical Society is running the events.
Would it be proper for the Historical Society to ask for an easement, or
the only reason I'm saying
some kind of a...
Based on the last meeting, all I said was, if you cannot get this, then you probably need a variance, and just request a variance. But if you're telling me you can do this in perpetuity, and then all of a sudden you can't, and you somehow lose this parking arrangement, you're going to be back. Why come back? This isn't a great place to come to. Let's face facts. You're not having fun tonight.
Mr. Costa.
and that's the end.
Mr. Barrett, you and I had this discussion. I think it behooves the applicant to do some form of a written agreement with regard to the parking. I think it makes sense, and I don't know if you need time to talk to your client about that, rather than making it...
That's fine. And be subject to your,
To Mr. Costa and myself.
And your approval.
Thank
So
you.
again, if you give us an approval, deem it appropriate to give us an approval, it would be subject to written agreement between the commission and the Historical Society, subject to the review of your attorney and engineer.
Mr. Berman, I know you're ready to jump out of your seat, so I'm going to give you the floor.
Just on this topic. We asked the last time to see the document by which you people are using that parking lot.
And I submitted a letter from the commission.
Did you receive a letter?
Council did send me a letter.
I guess the basic question is there a document? After listening to Mr. Smith, he's talking about forever. All right, show us a document that says that. And we should receive that.
This was submitted.
Let's see it.
Did you submit that to the land use secretary, that letter? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, but it was submitted.
I haven't seen it.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Sure,
When the
man.
legislature created New Bridge Landing Historic Park, there has to be a survey or something that shows the limits of the project. Is that not correct? And this land would be shown as part of the park. Is that not correct?
Right.
And the statute gave the commission the authority to administer the park. So the only way you would lose your authority to regulate the parking would be if they eliminated the park.
That's
In this New Jersey State Legislature. I don't understand what the issue is here.
No, this is not, this is nothing.
I agree. Did you listen to what the mayor just said, Mr. Manning?
Excuse me?
Did you listen to what the mayor just said?
Yes.
Okay,
I'm waiting for an answer for him.
I'm sorry?
He said yes. I mean, I would just ask, because this parcel is part of the
Right.
state park created by the legislature. The legislature gave the commission the authority to administer the park.
Right.
So the only way that they would lose authority to administer the parking would be is if the legislature eliminated the park,
Okay.
which would take an act of the legislature, which we have no jurisdiction over. I just think the language of the resolution has to say something to the effect that if the parking gets taken away either through eminent domain or whether it's act of the legislature or act of whatever, the commission's encumbered to find on-site parking or something like that to accommodate it. But that's it. I mean, to try to, you're not gonna get the governor and the legislature to come back and say, we gave the commission authority to monitor the parking. I don't know what specifically the board's looking for in that regard.
I'm looking for a guarantee that they can use this
It's part of the park.
It's part of the park, okay.
Yes.
So,
And put a
is there a
restriction on it.
document
We-
that created the park? Give us a copy of that?
That was the
That was the
statute.
statute that was cited.
The letter you gave me does not say that.
That's not the statute.
That wasn't the answer. You asked
Yes.
a document,
Right,
and it was the statute that was cited. You want a copy of the statute? I'll send you a copy of the
right.
statute.
Send it to the board.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And can't there be language in the resolution that we're restricting that area for parking, it can't be used for anything else?
Here's what I recommend, and I can work with this with Counselor, is that we draft an agreement wherein, Counselor, you can cite the statute, you and I can work on it together, we can determine the amount of parking spaces, there should be a schedule or an exhibit appended, right, to that document, and that should be submitted to the board,
That's fine.
showing the 31 spaces. I mean, that's typically how it's done, as you know. If the board is okay with that, that would be my suggestion.
Right.
Good?
Yeah, we're gonna have something binding here. That's what you're gonna work on.
Basically, in order to build this size building, the requirement is 31 parking spaces for this size structure
Correct.
and
I
occupancy.
understood, yeah.
That's it. It's that simple.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no 3 coconuts and a marble, there's no smoke and mirrors, there's no, so it's either one of two things. Either you have the parking, or you don't have the parking. If you don't have the parking, you need a variance. If you have the parking,
They have the parking, but it could be,
That's it.
it could be taken away by the legislature, or it could be taken away by the county of Bergen, or it could be taken away by the borough of River Edge to eminent domain, if that were the case.
and welcome back here.
Yes.
And if you can't get the parking, then what happens? You lose your CO, you tear down the building, that's the next step. I don't.
And that's,
Well, that's what I said, then maybe they need to designate an area on site that would be designated for future parking, if that were to be necessary.
Or something. And that's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to accuse you of anything. I mean, it's very simple. And really, that's what it comes down to.
And maybe they'll be able to assemble more land in the future and do that too.
do you want to try to incorporate a variance now? So you don't have to deal with that parking issue and come back? Of course, you're gonna have to find parking someplace, whether it's the abandoned, PSE&G site in the back, or, which I don't know what they're gonna do with there, but you're gonna have to find parking if you lose this parking. We're not gonna, I just can't imagine, and I probably won't be here by that time, demanding that you rip down the building.
You've also had agreements with transit to use the parking over there at times, have you not?
That's
So
correct.
You can cite, I'm sure you can produce documents that you've done that in the past.
Right, that was testimony on May 1st to that effect, that when there was a very large event.
Yes.
Not only Transit's lot, but also the borough's lot
Yes.
was, permission was.
And that may require, and then if that were the case, if that was your sole source of parking, you'd have to put restrictions on the time and use of your events.
Well, of course,
So it's pretty straightforward as far as
right.
that.
We all want what you want. We want something that we'll be proud of. We want something that's gonna be safe for the people crossing, and we want someplace for them to park. So, we all want what you want. Mr. Costa, you
We're
done?
talking about a 2,000 square foot building.
Right.
We're not talking about,
So let's.
Let me just Let them finish. Are you guys done over there?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, with the park.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
we're not doing the park.
Well, we,
Just,
I think that Ms. Nabby and their attorney is going to work on something that makes sense. If not, then we'll bring it back here again. Well, but we'll make it subject to, and then if it's not gonna work, or if they can't make it work, then come back. This is not going, the shovel's not going in the ground anytime soon.
I don't foresee a problem, because this is the commission's role, is to enhance the use of the entire property.
And that's what we all want.
Right. So, that's why I don't understand any problem.
Just one point, Mr. Merman, in order to address your concern, it would be my recommendation that if this board were inclined to grant this application this evening, that agreement be presented to this board for review before the resolution is adopted.
agreed.
And I'd like Mr. Costa to look at it as well. Council, we may need a meets and bounds description of the parking area.
You in agreement, Counselor?
Well, wouldn't it suffice just to block and lot?
No.
I would think that we would want some schedules attached to that. One of them would be the legal description, and the other would be just a depiction of the parking area and the 31 spaces in question.
I mean, the legal description may exist. You know, I have to get a copy of the for that parcel.
We'll work it out. And just before we move on, that's Exhibit A4, not A3.
Thank you.
Before I go back to the board, does your client have anything else he wants to testify on at this point, or his engineer?
No, we're certainly available to answer questions. We also have our traffic expert, and we do have the architect.
All right, so moving right along, Mr. Merman,
Okay.
back to you.
You answered, your exchange answered what I was gonna ask. Okay.
Ryan?
I have a lot of questions, but not on the,
Just what we heard so far. Ryan?
Nothing at this time.
Mayor?
No.
At this point, I'll entertain a motion open to the public.
So moved.
Have a second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay, so we're opening to the public just on this testimony from these two gentlemen. If anybody has any questions, raise your hand, you can come up. Any questions? Comments? Councilwoman? Nope, okay. Motion to close to the public? Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay. Call your next witness there. Mr. Barrett?
At this point, did you have more questions for Mr. Bradford, Mr. Chairman?
I have other questions on the parking, but we were just discussing the validity of it, basically.
Okay.
I'll give you the question now, since he's here.
Right. I don't know who's going to answer it, but
Well,
until we know what the
I think
question
he can, because he
Oh,
offered the
right.
drawing. We requested the last time for a layout of the parking, and you shook your head in agreement. Right now, all I see on the drawing is a note saying restripe the lot. That doesn't give us a layout. That doesn't give us the ability to look at where the handicap parking is, or it doesn't give us the ability of a full review of that parking lot. Picture's not gonna help.
We did not amend the plans to incorporate a striping plan of that because we had testimony over the 63 parking spaces. Our understanding of the discussion was that the parking lot would be restriped in its existing configuration, and that's where we're at.
Right? The request was made. You decided you didn't want to,
No, sir, I apologize. I must have misunderstood. I
Okay.
did not realize that.
so you will provide that still?
I'm sorry?
Will the applicant still provide a plan of the parking lot with the striping and the handicap requirements shown, including the signage and everything else. We don't know what your layout is.
We can submit a drawing that shows what's out there today based off of Google imagery or whatever information we can gather, yes. It's an existing situation, it was our understanding, or at least my understanding, that what we were agreeing to do was to restructure in the existing configuration. No other changes were necessary, we weren't doing anything.
Let's look
Could
at
be
this.
wrong, but that was.
Well, let's look at this, all right? If you want to present a plan by walking up a Google or whatever and altering it to show the striping where it's visible, where you plan or propose to put the handicap parking.
We're not proposing to move the handicap parking space. The agreement was where
Don't know where it
today.
is. Yes. What I'm saying is your submittal should be showing those items.
It does, it shows the parking on site. The handicap spots are on site. We don't propose any other handicap spots.
Is it on paper?
Yes, it's on the plan.
That's an aerial photo.
No.
Where? No, I'm talking about across the street.
Right, we're not proposing any handicap spots on that lot.
Okay. Nevertheless, I'm still looking for a plan across the street. I want to see what you're doing.
We're not
One-
doing anything. It exists.
I want 1 second, Ms. Nabby. You want to chime in?
I tend to take copious notes, so Mr. Merman did make that request on May 1st. What I wrote down here, Mr. Merman wants striping on the adjacent lot shown, and the ADA spaces
One striping.
on the adjacent lots to be shown,
Okay.
and the ADA spaces. So I believe that is, Mr. Merman, that is a follow-up to your initial request, correct?
Yes. I haven't seen it.
Right, so you want us to show the striping that exists across the street?
Yes. That's what you're going to replace. You're telling me.
We're not replacing.
No, you're going to restripe it.
Restripe, yes,
Correct.
exactly
You're
what's
going to
there.
replace the paint lines. Okay.
I'm sorry?
Replace was reference to the paint lines.
Well, no,
Okay,
paint
so-
lines are still there, I was there today.
Yeah, they're
Paint lines are still there. Some of them-
barely visible.
That's fine, but they're clearly visible. All right, each and every one of them, because I was there physically today.
Give us some kind of
Won't this be included, whatever parking agreement we're talking about?
well,
That's what I
So-
suggested to Counselor, is that we have
So
the
if we're gonna have the
schedule.
description.
you're
you
going
can
to have
include
the
that as part of
description,
the-
show a piece of paper with,
Or.
Showing the striping as it is.
And we'll make it subject to.
Right.
all
That's
right.
I already made it.
There we go.
Just make sure it's clear showing the ingress, the egress.
You're okay with that, making it
Yes.
subject to?
Yes, it's exactly what I wanted.
Anybody else on the board have any questions from these two witnesses? Okay, we're good.
Next topic.
Next.
Next,
Is the architect testifying on the signage also, since you had him there?
yes,
Can we cover that, Mr. Chairman, now?
Yeah, we should, yeah.
All right.
You could stay up. Come on up here. Yeah.
No, he probably doesn't want to.
Mr.
Smith,
Smith.
he's running.
I'm not that hostile.
Next time, come with a uniform and a musket, maybe it'll be a little more intimidating.
sure, I'll do that while they, see what I actually, I mean,
You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Eugene Gassner, GA Assessment Management, Project Manager with G306.
Thank you.
You have a business card for our secretary?
Correct?
A business card for the secretary?
I can get you one.
I have his card, but can you
Yeah.
get the, yes.
closest to you, thank you.
Thank you.
What is your business address, sir?
669 River Drive, Elmwood Park, New Jersey.
Thanks.
Counselor, will you just handed out a document? We're going to mark that as A5, and the witness will identify the document.
Sure. This is a
That's what I want to see.
This is a design board entitled Bergen County Historical Society New Museum and Event Building. It is very similar to the one that I presented at the previous meeting. This document has been modified from the previous meeting only to show the new signage component as requested. So it's after discussing with our clients, we determined that a simple applied sign to the building was really all that we were looking to do. So the signage you can see on the top center drawing, which is entitled South Elevation, drawing number 03. It's very simple, Kevin Wright Museum. It's an applied sign. Letters are 1 foot high, applied directly to the building. In the exterior rendering, on the top right of the plan, drawing number 07, it might be a little hard to make out on this print, but it's also shown up above the door of the building. The sign itself is, I believe it is about 10 feet above grade, give or take, and after having reviewed the River Edge zoning ordinance, I believe it is in compliance with the ordinance.
It's going to be lighted?
It's not going to be illuminated.
No illumination.
It's not going to be internally illuminated or externally illuminated.
Are they raised letters?
They are raised letters, yes.
Roughly how high are the letters?
Probably an inch, inch and a half.
No, height,
Oh, they're a foot high,
foot high.
and about an inch or inch and a half deep.
All right, and you specified the square footage?
I did. It's going to be on the order of about 18 square feet.
Right. Do you know the color?
White.
White, okay. Good. That's
Bob?
what I was,
Well, I'm seeing this for the first time. The sign does seem to be in scale with the building, so it doesn't seem to be overly large. In terms of what's permitted or not, again, the site is in the M1 zone, which doesn't have any specific parameters, so I think the board has some flexibility in terms of determining whether or not the sign fits in this particular location.
Correct, and I believe we followed the commercial building section of the ordinance.
And you're 18?
Yes.
Mr. Goss, or anything from?
Not for the sign.
No.
To me, it looks small on paper.
Ryan?
Yeah, I think the sign looks nice.
Mr. Mervin?
I'm fine with 40%.
Mayor?
No problem.
I'm good. Okay. At this point, I'll request the motion to open to the public for this. Have a second? All in favor? Any opposed, any abstained? Okay, at this point, just on what was testimony from this gentleman as far as the sign goes, does anybody have any questions? Seeing no questions, motion to close to the public?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Any opposed, any abstained? Okay. That's your testimony, I'm guessing, correct?
For the moment, unless there's any further questions.
Sounds good. Okay.
Thank you.
Counselor?
No, I think what it comes down, it's up to the board. Again, there was a lot of colloquy back and forth at the last meeting. Take the ADA spaces out of the front, put the ADA spaces back in the front. Why we should do it, why we shouldn't do it.
Well, we have a traffic expert, correct?
Yes.
Well, let's get him up here.
Okay.
Let's talk about it a little bit. It's your first time?
No, sir.
Okay.
We'll just swear him in again. You swear affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name for the record.
Jay Troutman, Troutman. So, Mr. Chairman, we had conversations since the first and others concerning the location of the handicap spot. Yes, we did.
your conclusion?
Our conclusion was that those spots need to remain on-site to be in the safest location achievable. And the safest achievable location for those spots are on the property directly proximate to access to the building.
That was easy. While he's here, are you here also to testify on the crosswalk at all, or?
I think Mr. Dryswood handled that. That was discussed and designed as it now a proposed three-way stop intersection, so now you can introduce the crosswalk.
So, as a traffic engineer, how do you feel about that? You've been
I-
down there on the site?
Yes, I have.
Look, you followed the traffic pattern,
Yes, I have.
and what do you think about that?
The only way to have that crosswalk is to stop that jug handle, so as long as that is allowed, that crosswalk can exist.
But what do you think about that in your professional opinion?
In my
Is it gonna
professional
work?
as a three-way stop, that crosswalk will work, yes.
Okay. See if anything else that he wants to, okay.
I had a question for the culvert. Last time we talked about maybe putting flashers or something like that. Maybe that incorporated into the plan.
I do not recall that discussion, and there are not flashers.
I specifically asked that we consider that.
So we're
More
moving on.
visibility there, the better.
I can't even begin to say my reservations of putting a crosswalk on that jug handle. However, unless you're gonna build a bridge, I don't know how else to fix this.
Well, the original testimony was that there's an existing crosswalk at the.
I heard it, and I'm aware of that crosswalk. I don't think anybody's ever used it. Again, the traffic that goes through that jug handle 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon is almost equal to what's on Route 4. It scares the heck out of me. That's why I wanted your opinion, because you're the professional, not myself. And if you're comfortable with it, we're going to go to Mr. Coster in a minute. I don't know another way to do it, but if you can incorporate the mayor's ideas into that, whatever safety precautions we can put there, including what I thought was maybe if you had an event, agree to have a crossing guard there, because it scares the heck out of me.
But there's also testimony last time about the hours of operation for the museum and the events, and typically they're not having them on Wednesday afternoon at 5 o'clock.
Well, you never know. They might.
They could.
And maybe
they could.
we can
And
incorporate
I
the
think
fact, yeah.
That's not a bad idea, but I think the reality is most of the time, this is usually, these events are at off-peak.
I would reiterate that as well, because as someone that's driven that jug handle for my entire life, I know that there's no stop sign there, and I just go. And people that are going to be driving through there are just going to go. And, you know, yes, it may not happen at 5 o'clock, but people still go through there on a regular basis at 12. So some sort of lighting, flashers, you know, man with a flag there all day long, you know, whatever we can do to make that safe.
I would ask if you had any special events there, that you would agree to put a crossing guard in place, or you could hire one of our, either one of our cops or one of our reserves. I know that's a possibility. They're used in other areas of town. Quite honestly, out of everything in this project, that is the one thing that scares the heck out of me. The rest of the project, I love. It's much better than a junkyard. But that crossing area there, I wish we could move it down 10 feet, but we can't, and I know nobody would use it. So if you would agree to, on particularly special events, to have a crossing guard there, however you have to do it, or call down the county, the sheriff will send you somebody up, that would make me feel a lot better.
If I can respond.
Yeah.
Sure. So I like.
That's why I wanted you up here.
Fantastic. It's great you mentioned the junkyard because each July we have a new tradition in River Edge, our vintage baseball game, which occurs in the meadow. And the first year that we had the game, we were getting vendors to make deliveries. They were saying, "Oh, is that where it's right near the junkyard?" I'm like, "Well, when you go down there, you'll see. You know, River Edge isn't known for a junkyard anymore. It's a beautiful meadow." And so this July 13th, we have a vintage baseball game where actually a team from River Edge is going to be competing at the Newbridge Enterprise Club that actually existed here. They'll be utilizing that parking lot. They'll be crossing at that crosswalk at the light, but the Bergen County Historical Society is already in the process of contracting with individuals to handle parking and to direct people the correct way to cross. And for all large events, we do have individuals.
I have no doubt that safety is going to be paramount and I just wanted to reiterate.
Absolutely.
And by the way, that junkyard and duct tape was what got me back and forth to work when I was in my late teens. Anything on the left here?
Yeah, is there any impediment to putting flashers up?
I believe it'd be up to the county. Because you have permission to use the stop sign. That's not what you're talking about.
I'm sure when you repeat the testimony that was done up here, I'm sure they're going to be more amenable. They're very good down there listening to the towns.
Well, if we have any problems with, certainly seek the borough's assistance. Mr. Costa is good with that.
Yep.
That was my comment, is what if the county says no to the stop sign? Then, you know, what can we do at that point?
I think again, during the large agreements that we have had, assistance there, and, you know, perhaps we have to engage the reserve or the sheriff or somebody to literally stop the traffic.
Sir? I'm good. Mayor? Mr. Merman?
Yes.
You're putting your glasses on.
From a traffic engineering standpoint, it sounds like you are going to put a flashing stop sign there.
That was what I was thinking as the discussion was going on. I don't know that we would, but we would request the county do that.
County's only going to review what you're given. So why can't you put the flasher on the drawing and let the county say no?
We can.
Excuse me?
We can put it on the.
Please. Now, the question I really have, are there any other signage or devices that you can install prior to that stop sign to give the oncoming traffic, as well described, advance warning? In other words, the stop sign's not becoming a sudden surprise.
Maybe a rumble strip
What is
or
it?
something along those lines.
Any other signage or devices?
You could do stop ahead, warning sign, and you could do.
Pedestrian crossing ahead or something like that?
You can also do a double stop, right, so you have it on.
Okay.
Double posted.
So, can you review that and alter the plan?
Yes.
Okay. Now we're getting
So we'll make it subject to, right?
Yes.
Can we go to the lighting on that crosswalk,
have
or you
testimony
want
on
to do
that or
something
no?
else?
Do you have any testimony on the lighting?
We had testified back on
On what?
Make sure there's no traffic lights.
Yes, but you now have a drawing that shows it.
Okay. Do you have a question?
Yes.
If you have a question, we have an answer. The light was always there, the street light was there, it wasn't on the original plan.
That's correct. You now show it, and you show your foot candle levels. Okay. Who can address those?
All right, well, let's finish on traffic first,
That's what I'm.
and then we'll get to the lighting. Ryan?
Again, just my comment before was not so much a lighted stop sign, it was more of a flashing something, it's coming. You know, because coming around that corner,
I think the rumble strips are a good idea.
any combination of lighting things up and rumble strips, I just know driving through that intersection, I know I'm not stopping, because I don't have to. And thousands of other people do. So, something lit up before you get there, rumble strip, lit up stop sign, I would suggest all of them.
Yeah, we have to teach these people.
Absolutely, and, you know, it only takes one person going through the first time to unfortunately hit someone. So the more we can do, the better.
And we know that you'll do your best.
Yes.
Okay, at this point, I want to open to the public. Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposing, abstain? Okay, this is strictly on what was testified as far as the traffic pattern and the parking. Anybody have any questions? Please come on up, state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Christine George. My address is 291 Van Fond Drive in River Edge. I just wanted to address a comment that was made that nobody uses the crosswalk. So testifying as a resident of River Edge who attended these events, I use the crosswalk. I've witnessed other people using the crosswalk. And also as the current secretary of the Historical Society, I have worked the admissions table and have observed people moving from the parking lot using the crosswalk and then going from the corner to the other to the site with that. So people are observing that. I do agree that that is an issue, but I also think that's an overall River Edge issue of just general speeding, which isn't necessarily something that should be targeted for this particular area over everything else.
Yeah, I'm the one who made the statement, and I wasn't targeting any, trying to target as a traffic problem, but it's a very heavily traveled area, and certainly there should be some concerns for the pedestrians, especially with the increased traffic. As far as what I said about is nobody uses it, I'll amend that to the record that I've seen that some people use it, some people don't. Is that better? Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have anything? Good evening.
Hi, Deborah Powell. I live in town at 69 Christie Avenue, River Edge. Just the site is, I'm down there, every day, look, many events, all the events. I have never seen an incident at the site with parking. We've never had an issue. People do regularly use the crosswalk. People do cut through the lot, and that's not really, necessarily the Historical Society's issue, in that the commuters that are coming from, the western part of town or the train station are cutting through there and, heading across the bridge to Teaneck and Milford. So, we can't control that as a society event, with addressing, the pedestrian issue there. That's a whole separate thing the town really should be thinking about. That said, I can also say I've seen people cutting across 6 lanes from the River Edge train station to get east, like to where the apartments are. They're cutting across there. So, that seems like a much more dangerous situation, that people are not walking to the crosswalk, but they're cutting through 6 lanes. I think adding 3 stops now is really, is a lot of, impediment for...
How would that be an impediment on the...
Well, because people already are using the crosswalk, and then now they're going to have a second crosswalk, and then they're going to have a stop at the jug handle. So that's 3 stops, right? The stop at the end of the jug handle, then they're going to come around the corner, and then there's the crosswalk there, right? They still have to stop there, right?
You don't want them to stop at the crosswalk?
And then the second crosswalk at the light, there's a stop there.
I don't understand your... am I missing something? I'm kind of confused on what you're trying to tell us.
It's just a lot of activity going, stopping and starting.
So it's a lot of activity, period, especially when you have an event there. I've been there for events.
Oh, good.
I live in town, too. My only concern is to make it safe.
Right.
I'm not trying to impede this project in any way. My statement was only to try to make it as safe as possible. And with 23 years sitting on the dais here, I've got a pretty good handle of what goes on in the town. And
well, right now there's a crosswalk from the parking lot to the
I'm aware.
apartments. It goes into a dumpster. So, how is that allowed to be designed? And that's not us, that's a,
I don't even know how far back that goes, Mr. Costa. Yeah, predates me.
I think that's where the crosswalk needs to happen. It needs to go across there. There needs to be a handicap ramp at that intersection where the dumpster is, and then across to you guys. That's how it should be done. The problem is, the parking is disjointed from the site. The parking is an island.
Right.
Whether you want to realize it or not, whether you agree with it or not, the parking for the site is an island. And many years ago, I did 13 plans to eliminate the jug handle, to give you guys the property, and vacate all the roads down there, and you guys would have been your own separate park. For whatever reason, it never happened. Come to today, 2019, the parking is still an island. You want to build structures, and I understand it, but regardless, you need to get from point A to point B.
Safely.
Right. And
That's
the
all.
only way you're going to do it, I don't think you're going to cross there. I think you got to come across the jug handle, put the stop there where the dumpster is, have your handicap ramp at that location, and then come across the street. And again, I said it earlier, you put a truck template on the plan that shows the truck coming down Main Street, putting it in reverse and backing into your site. I don't think that works. But you have your traffic engineers out now. I mean, I'd love to listen to him, because why are we even backing into the site? Pull in. If you have to back out, you're backing out into a road that has no traffic. Now you're stopping on a road that has all the traffic.
Was there anything else you wanted to add, Ms. Powell? Thank you very much. Go ahead.
I reviewed that truck turn plan.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Well, let him, because this was all part of that conversation.
Okay.
Let him answer
Is
that
what
question.
Do you want to hear from me on the truck plan?
No, let's wait on the truck plan. Was there anything else you wanted to add to what Ms. Powell had to say?
No, sir.
Is there anybody else in the audience that would like to speak? Seeing nobody else, we close to the public.
All right.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any abstaining? Okay, now we can discuss the truck turnabout.
I reviewed the truck plan, and the section of Main Street where that will take place is extremely lightly traveled. There are numerous plentiful gaps for that truck turn to happen. I just asked my client, how often did they get a truck actually doing that? Once a year. It's not a trucking operation. That truck was coming every day to the supermarket, you might have a different situation. To have a truck back in there once a year on a lightly traveled street where it can make the move,
I just got to understand this completely.
it operates.
Because I know I will use this in the future somewhere when our paths will cross. So you're telling me we're going to pull a truck down Main Street, put it in reverse, back up on the opposite side and back into the site, and you're considering that okay, and that's how it should be done?
For one truck a year, yes.
One truck a year?
Yes.
Why can't you just pull straight in and turn around and come back out?
If he could, that's.
We're talking about a box truck, we're not
Yeah,
talking about a
just a box
trailer.
truck. Yeah, just a box truck, yep.
Why can't he just pull straight in, come in around the front where this is paved here, and then back up and come back out again?
That's achievable as well. We have a plan showing that maneuver as well.
All right, I mean, I don't see
It just depends, I think.
viability of backing that truck in, especially if it happened to be during the day. And I understand it's probably just going to be to deliver tents or tables for a special event. But I don't see an issue with being able to turn around. He should be able to turn around with that kind of.
Oh, yeah, it does. We laid it out. It turns around.
I drove the ladder truck from the firehouse and I could turn it around in there. So,
Exactly, that works too. We did that one too.
Rob, you good now? So we're going to pull it in, we're going to turn around and come back out.
Right now, this is on the plan. Right now, it's on the plan. It's the document in front of the board. It's document in front of the public.
So can we amend it to not have it backing
So
in?
either eliminate it. But I don't know how the board can condone that. In my professional opinion, it's not safe. When you go home tonight, pull down your street, go past your house, and back into
I
your
do it every
driveway.
day.
Maybe you do.
I do.
Okay. On the opposite side of the street.
Well, I was a fireman, I
Everybody
expect used to
tonight, when
it.
you go home tonight, tomorrow morning, pass your house, on the opposite side of your house, and back into your driveway.
So can we amend it so we just pull in and just, we don't have to keep going over this.
All right, when you pull into the lot, into the service area is pavement, asphalt pavement, and then gravel. I guess like a pea gravel or something? Okay, that's where the trucks are gonna be coming on top of, correct? That's what they do today. Okay, but I'm saying, just so the board is aware, that's what the trucks are gonna be backing into.
Do you find a problem with that, or?
Not me,
No.
I'm not gonna rake it and maintain it.
Right.
I do not, I'm just saying, for the board's edification. So if the gravel is gonna be moving around on top of the pavement, where the...
I'm sure this property is gonna be well maintained. Okay, let's move forward.
Well, let's conclude here. What was decided to be done?
We're gonna do a plan with the truck going in forward.
Okay, so you're gonna amend that plan.
Yes, sir.
And when you amend that plan, you're also gonna come up with the extra traffic devices or whatever. Okay.
Excellent. Anybody else on the board have any questions for this witness? Okay. Do we need to reopen for the truck then?
I would.
Okay, so let's open again to the public. Motion?
moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed, any abstained? Okay, this is just on the truck coming in and out of the parking lot. Does anybody have any questions? Councilwoman? Nope. Will, motion to close? To the public, second? All in favor? Any opposed, any abstained? Sorry, it's getting a little late. Okay, so next, what do you got? That's it? For summation?
I think that we need to recognize that, well, everyone wants.
Oh, wait, we need to still discuss the street lighting. We have a question on the street light, the streetscape.
What's the question? We'll try and answer.
So explain to me what you're using to illuminate this intersection.
The existing streetlight is an induction fixture, and what we modeled was a PSCMC photometric file for a 150-watt induction fixture. That's what's out there today. I cannot guarantee you it's functioning properly. I don't know that, but that's what we use to model.
Based on that, from the way I read your lighting foot candles, you're coming up with a quarter to a half a foot candle for that crosswalk area.
Under the existing,
Well,
yes, what the
what you're proposing.
That's the existing lighting, that's what the calculation shows.
Okay. And is it your testimony that you're gonna leave it that way, at that level?
That, we have no control over that existing light. That is existing. It's a situation
Not what I
where...
asked.
Well, the
Do you
applicant
feel-
requests
do you feel-
PSE&G to put additional street lighting.
Yes.
We can request it and see what happens.
All right. And what level would you request, foot candle wise?
They have two versions of an induction fixture. They either have 150 or 250. So we would ask them to put the 250 up and then model that and show you what the results would be.
So you're gonna look for 250.
So we can only request it. It's a municipal fixture. It's not
I
operated
agree.
by
Curious.
The borough has to accept it.
the borough.
Okay.
Correct.
So that if the borough accepts it, does that mean the borough pays for that light? Okay,
The borough has to pay for it.
okay. So you, the applicant, are going to agree to request that of PS&G and the borough, it looks like. How do we request that to the borough?
I would recommend you call our borough administrator. We've done this in the past with other locations.
So the applicant will do that.
Mr. Merman, what we could also do is make it a condition of approval, and what I will then do is, once the board adopts the memorializing resolution, send a copy over to your administrator,
Fine,
identifying that condition.
okay. All right. Because I definitely think that crosswalk, unless it's heavily brighter lighting level,
Again,
it,
it's an existing condition that we want to improve.
that's correct. Okay, that was my concern.
I just have one other question. Going back to Mr. Costa's concern with the gravel area, is there a functional or is it an aesthetic reason why we just can't put something more solid than the gravel with that one location?
We were
That
trying,
first-
it was in conjunction with consultation with the Historical Society. They wanted to keep the materials on site as close to the buildings as authentic historically. So we
Can you
limited to
look
the
at-
pavers to the
can-
public's
Can you look
area.
at a couple of other alternatives that may be a more permanent surface?
We'll discuss it with the Historical Society.
And the last question, it wasn't on, incumbent on the applicant, but I had asked that this be circulated to the fire department, and I don't know if it ever was.
It's an item that the board mentioned.
That wasn't incumbent on them, but, it's gonna have to go for fire review, and, it can be made subject to, but if they come back with a significant change to the site plan, then you'd have to come back. But I don't really anticipate that, but it's something that we need to do.
They're typically copied on the plans, from what I know, but,
I don't know if they did or not,
Right.
but
all right, so we'll make a condition, we'll go contact the fire chief, go over it with them, and I don't see anything here.
but it still needs
Right,
to be.
but it should be,
And
yeah.
they have the obligation to look at it.
That's acceptable?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else that you want to say? Do we open the public one more time? It's, we're gonna open the public one more time.
So we'll
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Okay, so, at this point, you can ask comments on anything that you've heard tonight on the project, or any questions at all that have to do with the project. Does anybody have a question, comment, concern? Yeah, come on.
Can I come back up?
Yeah, come on.
Just one question in what I was following along here. So from what I understand, the request has to go into the town to ask for the street lighting to be upped to the 250. Is that correct?
Yes.
What happened? But then, was that made conditional? So like, the town has to, like, is there a guarantee that the town is gonna say yes to that? Because it sounded like
It's not
It would be
conditional to the
conditional if
town saying yes or no, it's conditional that they have to ask.
that they just have to ask.
Mhm.
Okay, I just wanted that clarification.
Yep. Anybody else?
Sometimes extra street lights are not desired, particularly by people who live in close proximity to the intersection. So you may get people who live in the apartments who may not want that intersection brighter. We've had that happen, so.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
And then the council would have to, weigh it and then make a decision based on something like that.
Okay. Entertain the close to the public?
Motion's closed.
Second?
All in favor? Any opposed, any abstain? Okay, final comments. I'll start with Ryan. Let me start with Ryan, and we'll work our way toward me.
None at this time, no. I think it's a project that's gonna be beneficial to our town, and as long as the safety concerns and all that are covered, I think it's gonna be a benefit to the area.
Mr. Merman?
I have a list here of things that still require being done. I feel that they should be done before we take a vote on this application. And there's the parking agreement, which is going to be worked upon. The additional signage for the crossing by the traffic engineer, and that amended stop sign, plus a traffic engineer is going to amend his plans for the truck turnaround. We still have the sanitary sewer agreement that's in limbo right now, or being developed, probably more proper. And the lighting, I would suggest that the lighting be shown on the drawing with the foot candles for the proposed fixture. And if you want to put a note on it, subject to approval by the borough, or something like that, just so that we can review what the lighting level is.
I believe all those items could probably be addressed subject to, Mr. Merman, and they'll have to do it, or they'll have to come back and tell us why they didn't do it.
All right, if you want to do it that way, then let us give only preliminary approval until they're done with that, A, and B, they still have to go to the county and apparently some other state commissions or approvals, and they might make changes. And let's do it all at once. If we give them preliminary approval, we still have control of this application for their changes, and
They'd have to come back either way.
Right, if
Well-
the county makes changes, we've always had to come back to the board, because it offers your approval.
And the county won't act on it unless they have local approval first.
oh, so we give them preliminary approval.
This is not a major site, is it a major site plan? Tom?
No.
So we don't have that option.
We don't have the
Not
option?
if it's not a major site plan.
Well,
And it makes it,
I'm not, go ahead.
I understand what you want, but the easiest thing is, if you do approve it tonight, prior to the adoption of the resolution of memorialization, the plans have to be here. And if they're not here, you postpone it for another 30 days.
Yeah. I think that's.
Counselor? I see a yes from the chairman.
If we have a survey upgrade.
Call my office, we probably have to meet some downs, because we could be, only one. I'm sure we have to meet some downs, Tom, if we need it.
Okay, thank you.
All right?
Tom, I think your client agreed to that earlier tonight, that we have to have the revised plans and
Oh,
the
right,
agreements
right, I just
before.
asked if 30 days was enough time.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Merman, you okay with?
Well-
We'll do our best to get it.
No, that was, we just need it before we vote on it. No, nothing to say we're gonna vote on it at the next meeting, it's whenever you get your plans in. So if you got your plans in before the next meeting, we would vote on it then. What Mr. Cross is saying is if you don't have it, you're gonna have to wait another meeting cycle.
But
Okay,
I
so,
don't know how long it'll take Ms. Nabi to do the resolution, so we know exactly.
Well, let's put it this way, we have 45 days, right?
Right.
And if you could get the plans to me, to the board, within, is 2 weeks feasible?
so,
Because if not, if you can't get it to us within 2 or 3 weeks, then maybe what I'm gonna ask you to do is extend the time for the resolution to be adopted.
What is our calendar for the summer anyway?
Well,
July 4th is probably
Should we just have one meeting in July?
usually one in July and one in August. But again, I don't think
So
we're gonna be
extend the
holding.
time and you'll have to.
Right. As long as they can take this to the county with the approval we give them, I don't think we're holding them up at all, because I don't see a shuffling this until sometime next year. Is that correct?
Because your board attorney is very astute in the statute.
She's very astute.
Very astute, that the applicant can file suit on the board to compel the board to do the final
The
approval.
resolution, if it's not
Then you
memorialized.
have to pick up the attorney fees.
So I'm of the opinion that if we move forward and there is a affirmative motion for approval, we should make it subject to. And that way, we give the applicant the ability to go to the county and go to the state and get the approvals they need. And by that time, they also have a very astute attorney who will get us whatever we need so we can finally memorialize this in a timely manner. Is that correct?
And you still need the extension of time.
Right, but I believe that we have an affirmative statement from council that if this goes beyond the 45-day period under the MLUL,
That's
you're going to give us an extension of time,
Yes.
minimum of another 45 days?
Correct.
Okay. So we have 90 days all in.
So when do you plan to take a vote?
Tonight.
Tonight?
We're gonna
Okay.
vote, I plan on voting tonight, and then I plan on having a meeting within that 90-day window, or 45-day window if you're expeditious.
And the resolution,
We'll have
the
all,
motion and the resolution will have all these other things.
correct.
And you'll have time to
Plus,
review it.
it will say that we will not sign the resolution.
We'll memorialize it.
We will not memorialize it
Right.
until.
Correct.
All right.
I read the conditions.
Let's just
Yeah.
speak to the dais, and I want to welcome our new borough administrator to the meeting, and I wonder if you have any comments. We welcome you anytime.
Thank you.
And,
Great job. Keep it
and,
up.
and you were mentioned a little while ago about some lighting, so they'll be contacting you on that.
You can also make it the Class 2 member if you want to sit up here.
Mayor, it's quite all right with that.
Ms. Boland?
No comment.
Mr. Craig? Our professionals one last time, you guys satisfied where we are?
Probably have to.
Okay, and at this time, I would accept a motion.
Let's review what's going to be included.
She's going to read it right now. She's going to read it right
So
into.
she'll make a motion first and then subject to the
Yep.
conditions that she's going to read.
Okay.
I will make a motion that we approve this application, conditioned on the conditions that our attorney will now read into the record.
Motion made by the mayor, do I have a second? Second. Ms. Boland?
Mr. Grasso seconded?
Ms.
Or
Boland?
Ms. Boland?
Okay, so before I call a vote, we will go over the conditions.
These are the conditions that I took down from the May 1st, 2019 meeting and tonight. The first condition, no amusement-type activities are permitted on site. Condition number 2, if the applicant loses the parking, it will trigger a return to this board. You'll have to secure alternate parking. Condition 3, there's to be a written easement agreement for the sanitary sewer. That's to be submitted to the board attorney, board engineer for review and approval prior to recordation with the County of Bergen.
I'm sorry.
Prior to recordation with the County of Bergen.
Right, the easement, absolutely, yes.
I believe condition 4 has been satisfied. The landscaping plan has been submitted to Mr. Behrens, and if he has any additional comments, then the applicant will comply with those comments. Parking lot will be restriped, as we've discussed. The fire department is to weigh in on the location of the hydrants and any other concerns the fire department may have pertaining to this application. The applicant should comply with the comments of the board and the board professionals, and that includes Mr. Costa and Mr. Behrens. With regard to the written parking agreement, that is to be submitted to the board attorney and board engineer for review and approval. Again, council, we specifically agreed that there will be various exhibits to that agreement, including a meets and bounds description. There should be an exhibit showing the parking layout that was specifically requested by the board and by Mr. Merman. So just to be clear, the striping on the adjacent lot is to be shown. Okay? For any special events, the applicant shall secure the assistance of either police, county police, crossing guard, in order to direct traffic. The applicant will explore flashing stop sign with the county. Those details shall be added to the plan that will be submitted to the county for review and approval. And revised plans shall be submitted to this board incorporating that item as well as all other items requested by the board this evening and its professionals. Additional stop signs shall be included in the plan, rumble strips, and a lit-up stop sign.
And
again,
crosswalk flashers also.
and crosswalk flashers.
And a helicopter.
Probably overstating it, but revised plans shall be submitted to the board incorporating all comments, including the board's comments which had to do with the box truck. All turnarounds shall be on site. You pull nose in and you pull nose out. No backing out onto Main Street. The board asked for the applicant to look into material other than gravel, and that is something that should be included in the revised plan to be submitted to this board as well for review and approval prior to the adoption of the memorializing resolution. Mr. Costa, I don't know that this applies here. Typically, we have a condition on lighting for 6-month look back. I don't believe that applies here.
I don't think so.
Okay. The applicant will request additional lighting from PSE&G. There was discussion regarding, Mr. Merman, help me with this one. Is it a 250 fixture? Is that correct?
Is it 250 watt? Is that what it is?
250 watt?
I believe so,
Yeah.
And also the borough administrator.
And the foot candles associated with such as the, fall on the walkway, the crosswalk.
So, I'm sorry, 250 watt
What,
fixture?
is that what you use the term?
Induction.
Induction, all right.
Reduction fixture?
260 watt induction, yeah.
And, just bear with me 1 second.
Okay.
And the foot candle, what language?
And indicate the foot candle, illumination as it appears on the crosswalk. And you want to do your circuit? What about your circuit? She got that?
And just to point out, the borough has to accept, right, the additional lighting.
Correct.
The borough will pay for that lighting, and the appropriate resolution will be adopted. Once that's all done, resolution is memorialized and adopted, I will send a copy to the borough administrator so he can deal with that issue with the governing body.
I see a cringe from the back.
There's no money involved.
Could you, would you mind repeating the truck turning ones, because I believe they do have to back out.
No, they were gonna turn around and come out, turn around on site,
Okay.
because they had the room, and
No?
that's why they had the room.
Oh, okay.
No.
I didn't think so.
You have to back the truck out. You can't turn around.
You have to back out onto Main Street?
I thought you did say we could turn, no?
You can move forward, you gotta back out.
But you're gonna revise your plan accordingly?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so let's go back to that one. So the truck will back out onto Main Street?
Right.
Okay,
If they don't have a choice, they don't have a choice.
okay. And Counselor, between you and I, public, the board will have an extension of time to adopt the memorializing resolution. And the 45-day period does not apply in this situation because the applicant has to submit revised plans, go to the county, and then present revised plans to this board.
No, wait, you have us come to the county before you'll memorialize?
Well, do you want them to go to the county?
No.
first?
No.
Okay.
No.
So then, what you'll do then, if you can just submit revised plans to the board, let the board review it, and then we'll adopt the resolution after that. So maximum of 90 days.
My plan is to call for a vote within 45 days if you're ready. If you're not ready, within 90 days. But within 90 days, a vote will be called for the resolution. If the stuff isn't in at that point, it may be turned down,
Right.
but that is my plan.
And if I could just review with Ms. Nettie and with the board, the changes we make to the plans before you memorialize, because some of the things are after the fact. So you want the detail regarding the stop sign, rumble strip, et cetera?
Right.
Okay. The plan to show that the truck will enter the site frontwards but would back out. To explore material other than gravel, but if we can't come up with anything, we just make a note to that effect?
And the suggestion I would make would maybe be some Belgian block or something would look nice there. Would keep that aesthetics up and would be more solid.
This is good for handicap. This is okay?
And what will show the additional lighting subject to the approval of public service and borough?
Mhm.
And the foot candles
You're
that would be.
gonna show it, but it's gonna be subject to approval
Right.
of PSE&G and the borough.
Correct. Is there anything else we need to do before we get memorialized?
The two agreements.
Oh, right, I'm sorry. The parking and
Sewer.
Well, you have the sewer, which is a big one.
Well, can't that just be subject to, as it normally is? And until we have it, we're not gonna get a building permit.
And typically, as the board attorney, and I can't speak for Mr. Costo, but every other board that we represent, we want to see those agreements
Right.
first before the resolution is memorialized.
And then perhaps someone can then help me with
I have
prodding them
form.
along.
Okay. Oh, okay. I have formed, I was gonna say, I can help with the prodding. Mr. Costo?
Joe Fazrelli, he's an easy guy to deal with. I'll call him tomorrow.
He's working on it, I can tell you, I had a conversation with him today.
I'll call.
Thank
He
you.
would love to speak to me tomorrow morning.
Good.
We'll call the county, you're gonna call my office, and we're gonna pull the meets and bounds for the pizza, Joe Pizza lot, and then I will call Joe Fazrelli.
Okay.
And if he doesn't take my phone call, I'll walk over to his office.
And I'm sorry, we talked about showing the rumble strips, the stop sign,
Mhm.
and
Right.
everything else, right?
Yeah.
Board members, have I missed anything?
One other.
Sure.
How do we get this to the fire department for approval?
What, can I make a suggestion? What I would suggest is have the applicant make an extra set or a couple of extra sets and submit it directly to the FD with transmittal letter and copy perhaps Mr. Costa and myself.
It needs to come internally, so they know it's coming internally.
Okay.
And if there's any fundamental changes, we'll deal with it.
So, is there a way, Mr. Costa, that you can nudge the fire department with their set of plans?
No, I think Mr. Alter has to send them plans and said
Yeah.
that we need responses within 10 days.
Okay,
But
all
they're-
right, all right.
Get the borough administrator here, let him do something.
Not his job either.
Never coming to our meeting again.
Can we count on you to work with Mr. Alter to get these to the fire department and let them know they have 10 days? Thank you so much, sir.
So the plans will be submitted to the land use secretary and he will convey those to the, okay.
And we would request that they
Respond back.
10 days or 2 weeks.
And if there's an issue, we'll let you know.
And if they have any immediate concerns, they can call Mr. Costa and set up a site meeting or a review meeting if they have to.
Okay,
That's it.
make that number 14.
Laundry list.
Sorry, I'm almost done.
Any more planning board members?
They're not all like this. And I can tell you that about 95% of the times in the last 23 years I've been here, the applicants have left with smiles on their faces.
It's probably the first time in 25 years the borough administrator's done it.
Yeah. Okay, I'm ready to, don't be packing up. We still have to make a vote. I'm going to call the vote.
Yes, I'm just writing down some notes for Ed, that their conditions.
I thought you weren't gonna have a vote till we got the bills.
No, we're voting now.
We're voting to-
Subject to.
Subject to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we wait on Memorial Day.
We have a motion and a second on the floor,
Very good.
conditions. Sarah Killian?
Yes.
Ms. Boland? Yes. Ms. Grasso?
Yes.
Mr. Cray?
Yes.
Mr. Paslin is absent. Mayor Mignon?
Yes.
And Mr. Gibbons.
Yes. You forgot Mr. Merman.
Did I forget Mr. Merman?
Yes, you did.
Purposely.
I checked off,
He's
yes,
sitting
so.
there tweaking his rubber band. You better
Mr.
call.
Merman, I have you checked off, yes, Mr. Merman.
I didn't say yes. Yeah. Well, I wholeheartedly approve of the Historical Society's mission. I find this a very difficult application, and I'm looking forward to meeting all the conditions. And it's only based on meeting all those conditions will I cast a positive vote.
So they said they would.
Yes.
So you
So
will
I vote
cast.
yes based on that.
Motion passes. Congratulations. I will echo what Mr. Berman said. It's a difficult site. We all know that. But it's also a beautiful addition to the borough. It's something that people of River Edge will enjoy for many years to come. We thank you for bringing it forward and working hard to do it. We hope tonight wasn't too painstaking for you. And we look forward to the grand opening and a big party. We might even fly the mayor back in.
July 10th. Actually, we're doing a case, it's about 20 miles from Salt Lake.
Motion to adjourn?
Oh, Yes,
Oh. Yeah, well, it's out there.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So
Oh,
moved.
wait, okay,
Second.
that's all.
All in favor? Any opposed, any abstain? Very good. One more time.
Definitely gotta.
You'll never
have
see me here
Carol-
again.